families, creating a lifetime of memories. Sadly, some families are denied these important moments due to the sad practice of alienation. These are families divided.
Divorce and co-parenting are a major life interruption for families, especially the kids, but also for parents and grandparents. And it's even worse in blame-filled, high-conflict cases. When parents engage in alienation by turning the kids against the other parent or grandparents, kids suffer. They're denied the opportunity to build the 4 big skills necessary for future resilience. New Ways for Families online class can help. Parents learn to use our popular BIF and EAR skills to calm the conflict and stop the hostile emails and texts. And we even have a class for kids and parents to learn together. Research shows a 75% improvement in joint parental decision-making after this course is taken, plus overall improvements for kids' well-being. Don't wait to make this affordable investment in your children's future and improve your well-being too. Start learning new ways for your family today at conflictplaybook.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Families Divided TV. I'm Elaine Cobb, and today we're having 2 parents who are alienated and estranged, and they're also alienated grandparents with us. They've been with us before. We're happy to have them back again. We had such great response. We thought we'd bring them back. It's Elaine Simmonds and Jeff Morgan. Hi, Elaine and Jeff.
Hi, Elaine.
Hello, Elaine.
Nice to have you guys with us. They're going to be talking to us today about persevering through the pain of alienation. Those of us who are going through this alienation and the different phases of it all understand the pain. And today, Elaine and Jeff, I'm going to ask them some questions, and then they're going to let you know how it is for them and how they feel they can help encourage you. So there's a Swedish proverb that says, "A joy shared is a joy doubled, and a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved." In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul, he said, "Bear one another's burdens and thus fulfill the law of Christ." We're going to start with Elaine. So Elaine, how has this played out in your journey through alienation? Did you find many people around you that helped reduce your sorrow and lessen the pain?
My husband has been my biggest support. I have to give him a lot of credit. He's been wonderful. He's there with the crying and with the depression and everything that comes with alienation. So he's been my biggest supporter. We talk about our situations and our feelings often, and we help each other cope with the hurt and the disappointment. And I think that's important if you do have a spouse, that you're supportive of each other. Alienation puts a lot of strain on a marriage. So the first priority should not be your alienated child, but your spouse or your significant other. And our marriage has become much stronger because we made it a priority. Our younger son has been wonderful. He has remained close to us despite the choices that his brother has made. And we get to spend time with his family, him and his wife and their little girl. And that really has been a huge blessing. They make time for us in their busy lives. But we have found that family is probably about the last people you can ask for support, because discussing alienation with them makes them uncomfortable. They feel like they're caught in the middle. They don't want to take sides, and they don't want to hear about it. So we don't really discuss it with them. They're well aware of it. They know it has not changed and continues to being what it is, but we just don't discuss it. And we enjoy being with our family as family rather than burdening them with a painful situation. If you're looking for support and people to help you, you have to be willing to discuss your situation. And so many people are not. But to find supportive people, you have to go outside of your family. You go through support forums, you go, just talking to people in general. When somebody asks you about your family, if they seem like they might be friendly enough that you could really have some kind of a conversation, you'd be surprised at how many people are actually going through the same situation. And if you just happen to mention that you don't get to see one of your kids, sometimes it opens the floodgates and you start to hear, that a lot of people are walking the same path. Through the support groups, I actually met Elaine Cobb, probably 11 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And she has been there for me to support me as well. And we kind of support each other. And Elaine's perseverance in fighting for children's rights has been an inspiration, and to me and to countless others. There are a lot of supportive people out there. You just have to look for them. If you join a group and you find a group is not for you, then leave and look for a different group. There is one group on Facebook that I'm aware of that admits both estranged children and parents. Some find that helpful as they can get some insight into how the estranged child perceives the situation that we're in. Some find it helpful, some find it not so helpful. They find it, a little bit troubling. And so that type of forum isn't for everyone. You find a group that feels right to you, that you feel good about, that you enjoy being in. You make your virtual friends. And I've actually read many comments from people who are in support forums that say that the forum actually saved their lives. They've gone to therapy and they've done the best they could, but having a network of support people who understand what you're going through is invaluable to help them cope. So I've watched a lot of people come from the brink of despair to, the edge of suicide. And suicide is a big concern in the estranged family community. But anyway, we can't fall victim to the abuse that's dished out by our children. And we have had people that have been very close. And, we're not therapists, we're not professionals. So we always advise people to seek help if they feel suicidal, to contact the support lines, or to actually visit a therapist in person. But, we're there to help support people. And it's invaluable when they have other people who understand what's going on. We can't fall victim to the abuse of our children. We deserve to have a good life. We can't let their selfishness deny us the gift of life, which God has given us. And those who are feeling hopeless and contemplating self-harm, please speak to a qualified therapist and get help, because it's not worth losing your life over. You still have a purpose in life, and you need to go ahead and move forward, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. So, they just need to keep going, and one step at a time, one day at a time. But that's pretty much where I've been in the support situation.
That's great. Thanks, Elaine. And I also want to say we pretty much are dealing with the same things, except for you're blessed to have a granddaughter that you get to spend time with. And that's a really great blessing. But I appreciate your support to me through what we deal with as well. So thanks much. Jeff, let's go to you. How about you?
Elaine, I think that one of the big things that people struggle with at the beginning when you're talking about alienation is, does it make any sense? And the first thing you start to look at is, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? And as we know, none of us are perfect parents. And our parents are not perfect parents. We have seen no perfect parents on earth. At least most of us have not seen that. So the big thing is, at the beginning, when you're going through this and you're like, I don't even know what to do, and you feel a sense of shame, like maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe it's something that I've done. But alienation a lot of times is just completely senseless. I think about the son in Luke chapter 15 who ran away from his father. He said, basically, I want to, maybe it was Luke 16:15, I think it was, but give me my inheritance. I want to go and leave. And that was the end of it. And why? there was really no reason. He had a beautiful, perfect life, and it wasn't until later that he realized how good his life was and everything. But we do have the whole thing with alienation is senseless. And one of the things that people ask you is, well, like, what did you do? First off, they always think that somehow you're going to be at fault over something. It's your fault. The kids have every reason to move on, and it's your fault. And you find that many times the people that should be close to you and that know you, sometimes they don't begin to understand it. And what I found, Elaine, same thing with you, is that when I was going through this stuff, you were the one that told me about alienation. I had no idea what it was. And many people do not begin to know what it was, and they either don't want to be troubled with it, and they don't have the ability to really help to comfort you. But what I did find, like the other Elaine said, is that you start to meet other people and you start to work your way through it. But it is really true that a lot of times we just need to talk and talk and talk somehow to lessen the load, because if we don't, we can get into a dark place in a hurry. And, so if you're one of the people that's dealing with somebody who's alienated, to be that person just to listen and to share. And what I found out now, Elaine, is that, my closest friends in the entire state of Texas are people that have been through this stuff. In fact, in many regards, maybe they're the majority of my friends, because there is a certain commonality there that we can say that we've experienced, that we've worked through. And yes, you've been able to do that. And like in Galatians, it talks about bear one another's burdens and thus fulfill the law of Christ. And there are things that other people have as burdens that we'll never completely understand, but we can help to bear those burdens. And the first thing is, you want to, if you hear something, the first thing you want to do, it's typical to say, like, what did you do? What's wrong? Job's counselors, Job, you must have sinned against God. And God ended up having to rebuke those people. But so the whole alienation process is difficult at times, but it is true that if you can share a burden with somebody, it is half. And then at the other hand, too, that when you get to share the joy, like the reunification joy, it's multiplied. And I think I'll probably talk a little bit more about that later on. But anyway, that's pretty much it for right now.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing about your success that you've had. And yeah, when Jeff and I met, we met through politics, and who would have ever thought either one of us would be dealing with alienation at this point in time, but we are, and I'm so glad that we remain friends and are helping each other through this. Okay, we're going to the second question, and we're going to start off with Jeff this time. In some ways, the opposite of sorrow is joy. In Luke chapter 15, Jesus talks about sorrow being turned into joy when he or she finds that something is lost. For example, a shepherd who left 99 sheep to find one sheep that was lost, a woman who had 10 coins who found one coin that was lost, and a father whose lost son returned to him after years of alienation. We're all at different phases in this journey or alienation. We know you believe in God and trust in Jesus Christ, and that's a big help to all of us. Has this passage helped encourage you to persevere through the pain of alienation, Jeff?
Absolutely, Elaine. Years ago when I went to Bible college, they had a special library for people that they wouldn't let the common people look at, but if you like were in a special program or somebody they could trust, they'd let you go back and look at the books. And one of the things they talked about was alienation as a theology. Now I looked at this from my typical perspective and I thought, this is crazy, right? But now being at the end of having been through alienation, I started to look at the idea that is God an alienated father? And if you look at the Old Testament in Isaiah, God is talking about how, an animal knows its master, but my children do not know me. In the New Testament, it says that Jesus came and he came to his own and his own received him not. What did he do that was wrong? And what it helped me to understand was, I think that the heart of God at the same time, because, we often think about God either in a sense of judgment or righteousness or holiness or whatever. But how often do we think about God as being a grieving father, a father for somebody who's turned their back on him? He's like, what else can I do? Please return to me. And when Jesus came to his own people and they rejected him, I mean, how do we begin to even fathom some of what he experienced? So in that sense, it helped to give me some I think some insight into the character of God as well. But the other part of it, I believe it was you said, what about the joy when you find something? The shepherd who leaves 99 sheep and finds the one. And through the process, sometimes there's more than one family that's affected. The alienation can spread from a child to another child or whatever. And it's been very, very difficult at times to go through that because just to see what's going on. But Elaine, last year, I had a birthday card that I was holding for my daughter for years because I didn't know where she lived. And I sent her the card and I said, I don't even, I'm not here to talk with you about any, I just want to wish you a happy birthday. I've been carrying this birthday card for you. I found out where you lived. And I sent her the birthday card. And she wrote back and she said, thank you for the birthday card. We'd love to see the grandchildren. And I thought, of course I would want to see the grandchildren. And the joy that has been this past year. I mean, at Christmas time, I got this present that says, Granddad is the name that my favorite people call me. And that's my grandchildren. And my wife bought me these 2 bracelets, and they carry the name of my children and my grandchildren on them. But the joy that we have knowing that now you have a grandchildren that love you. They know nothing about it. And just recently, Elaine, I probably didn't tell you about this, but I did see my other grandchildren not too long ago. And they don't even know who I am. They didn't recognize me. And I mean, I wanted to say, I loved you so much. And I said a little bit, but I was afraid to take a picture with them because I thought, I don't know if that's going to be used against me now as well. But there are some grandchildren that are there. And to persevere through the pain of having that joy to say, I've got 3 grandchildren right now and that I'm close with. And I still hold out hope for the rest of them. I mean, I still love the other ones too. But it is something to persevere through that pain and to find the joy. The joy is well worth it. And that's where the Swedish proverb comes in. To share that joy with others increases your own joy. And when others see that joy, they come back to you and they say the same thing. We're so happy. We're so happy. And it brings tears to you all the time just to know that that something is being restored there. And I think, Elaine, one of the things that you've talked about in the past and others have talked about is that there are certain things you will never be able to revisit. You just have to accept where you are. And I'm grateful to God that we have the second chance, that He has helped to bring about some of these things. But so I've had some joy and reunification with one. The other one, I'm still hopeful that maybe something will happen. And of course, my son and his daughter have been here too, or his wife had been here too. But there's still the one. And a father wants to see all of his children back home and all the grandchildren as well.
Amen, Jeff. We were so stoked when you sent us those pictures when you first initially got back with those grandkids, and it's such a blessing and it encourages all of us. I have a 12-and-a-half-year-old granddaughter, Dare, who my son Brian and his ex-wife Kate has never let us see. And it really does encourage our hearts that one day we're going to see Dare, and we live for that day. We truly, truly live for that day. So that's awesome, Jeff. And we're still praying for your others as well.
Thank you.
Elaine?
Yeah, Jeff, that's such a wonderful story. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations on the progress that you've made thus far. It's just fabulous. I wish I had a similar story, but unfortunately I don't. But I will say in the beginning, I focused a great deal on the story of the prodigal son. I thought, surely my son will be back and, life will go back to normal. But as the years have droned on, and we're right at about 12 years at this point, but as the years droned on and the years turned to decades, I started to pretty much give up on the prodigal son story. My husband and I spent 37 years doing for our son, and he always would tell us what wonderful parents we were. And I have all these greeting cards and everything telling us what wonderful parents we were. And then, we got discarded. And shortly after he turned 38. And I'll tell you, talk about losing What did you lose? I question my own self-worth and value as a human being. And I think a lot of us alienated grandparents, estranged parents do that. You start to wonder, why am I here? What if my own children or my own child doesn't want me, then, why am I still here? What purpose do I actually have? And I spent a lot of time second guessing myself and always worrying and wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? And it's awful to go somewhere and then come home. You think, well, did I offend anyone? Did I upset anyone? So it really, really undermines your confidence and your self-esteem to have an estranged child and alienated grandchildren. It's just awful for your emotional well-being. And it takes a really long time to stop blaming yourself for everything that happens around you. But I had to start dealing with reality and start to live the life that I have and not the one I thought I should have. So I turned my efforts inward and I started to focus on self-healing. And, that came through prayer and also helping other people. Because helping other people helped me. It helped me heal. I didn't give up hope, but I did give up on the expectation that my son would see the error of his ways and that one day things would change, because it's not really looking that way. Um, Focusing on my healing helped me find my confidence, something that I had lost, my confidence and my self-esteem, which the confidence gave me the ability to speak out, to do what I'm doing today, because years ago I could not have done this. I mean, I would have just wanted to run and hide, which a lot of estranged, alienated parents, grandparents feel that way. And I'm sorry that my son has issues, but they're his issues. They're not my issues. I can't deal with his issues. And I can't change the past. And whatever he thinks is wrong with the past, I can't fix it. And I can't fix the future if he just keeps excluding me from it. I truly believe that his choice to estrange will not alleviate his issues, but will make them worse as he continues to defy God's fifth commandment. How can he's always claimed to be a Christian, and as far as I knew, he was, unless he's changed something in the past 12 years, which is highly possible. But I wonder, if he still is a Christian, how can he recite the part of the Lord's Prayer that asks God to forgive us our trespasses and forgive those who trespass against us, when he is completely unwilling to offer forgiveness to his imperfect parents? I just don't get it. I hope one day he'll explain it to me. But so far, that's not happening. But I sure am glad that it's happened for Jeff.
Yes, I totally understand we've never been told why 13 years ago Brian walked out of our lives, and we've begged and we've pleaded and we've asked and we've gotten no response. So we have no idea why. There was no arguments, no nothing. But the part that hurts the worst for, I think, all of our grandchildren is what they're missing. And that's what's most important, is them. They're missing their heritage. They're missing all the years with their other family, their other side of their family that they don't have. They're missing memories. And these alienated parents are taking it from them for whatever reason, whether they've turned their love into hate or whatever. They've got it where now it's all about them and not about the children. So that's sad. People can be alienated for no reason, for misunderstanding, for generational difference, or for no reason at all. Alienation is painful and senseless, and that's pretty much what we were saying just a second ago. Elaine, we're going to ask you first, and then we'll go to Jeff. How has the pain and senselessness of alienation helped transform your lives into lives of purpose?
Well, I will say I am totally and completely baffled at my son's behavior. I'm kind of like you. I mean, we've never, we've got little bits and pieces of what went wrong, but I mean, none of it made any sense. It's like, you're upset about that, seriously? But anyway, looking back on my own history, my dad was killed in a highway accident just after I turned 15. And my mom passed away when I was 42. So that's, pretty young to have lost both parents. I miss them both. And I never, ever in a million years would have dreamed of hurting them the way my father, or the way my son has hurt his father and I. I couldn't have done it. I mean, my husband's parents stayed in our lives, right up until the very end. We never alienated from him. We always made efforts to keep in touch with him, and we lived 3,000 miles away. I mean, we would make that long drive to come and visit. We always made sure our kids had access to their family. And I don't understand this whole thing. Our son is almost 50. And if you think about it, at 50 years old, you still have parents, both of your parents alive and healthy, but you toss them to the curb like they're yesterday's trash. It's, I don't understand it. Senseless, that's putting it mildly. It really is. There is pain, confusion, and disappointment to be on the receiving end of alienation. I started this journey seeking support and ended up being the one who offers it. Helping others heal helps me heal. And I've been active in support forums on Facebook for 11 plus years. Now, I've been a member, I've been an administrator of forums and groups. And difficult as it's always been to put myself out there, I've shared my story, offered encouragement to other suffering parents many times over the years. But my husband and I had to find a way to fill the void left behind by our missing family and to find a new direction for our own lives. It didn't revolve around our children and grandchildren. And 3 years after our son estranged, my husband and I both retired from our jobs. We sold our house and we moved to a warmer climate, which fortunately happened to be closer to where our younger son lives. We bought an RV. I think our younger son thought we'd lost our mind when we went out and bought an RV, and we lived in it full time while we were building our new house, and that was an experience. We joined a couple of RV groups on Facebook, and surprisingly, we found that a lot of people. I mean, not everybody, but there are a significant number of people who RV because they don't have any family that spends time with them, so they took up RVing. After we got settled into our house, we started to do some traveling. We went to different camping functions such as rallies and meetups, and we met some wonderful new friends. And when you talk about your situation, you find out that other people are in the same situation, so you've got you have something in common, something to talk about. We learn to laugh and we learn to enjoy life to its fullest. In our camping travels, we have visited all 50 states in the United States. We've actually slept in our camper in 46 of those states. We've traveled thousands of miles over the past 9 years and have visited more than 30 national parks. We've stayed in hundreds of different campgrounds, visiting with new people and enjoying our golden years as a couple. We were good parents. We raised 2 sons who are well educated, very successful in their careers. They both love their jobs. They both have a home. They have a family who loves them. But now it's our time, and we're going to make the best of whatever years we have left on this earth. So camping seems to be our thing, and we really do enjoy it, and it's made us happy, and it's good to be happy.
That's right, and that's good for you, Elaine. You deserve it, and Chester and I feel the same way. I'm blessed to have such a supportive husband, but we're trying to really focus on each other and God, and just hope and pray, for good. We're blessed to have good friends. Elaine, you come over and we have parties and cookouts, and we have a great time, and we're really blessed, and we try to look forward to all of that, and I think that's really important that we focus. And I also wanted to mention, Family Access now has a monthly support group, which Karen Chandler, she heads it up. I can't do everything, so she's heading that up. She's doing a great job. I'm so thankful for her. And we have a bi-monthly Bible study. So those are 2 things. If you're interested, you can get on our email list through our website, and we'll be able to hook you up to those two things. We'd love to have you. Rhonda Altus is doing this Bible study for us this time, and again, I'm grateful because I can't do it all, and it's great to have such support and help. And we encourage people, you know, to have this for yourself. It's very important that you're able to look to God. We've had many new people that have come in the past couple of months who really surprisingly all over the world have joined and hooked up with us, because alienation is an epidemic. It's not just here in the US. I was astounded when I started Family Access many years ago that I thought it was just, right around here, and it's not. It's everywhere, sadly. But anyway, I want to get back to Jeff, but I do encourage you guys to contact us about the bi-monthly Bible study and the monthly support group. It would really be a help to you. Jeff, can you get on that same question for us too? Thank you.
Y- Yes, Elaine, that so when I how have I turned the pain into purpose, I guess is really the way that I would phrase it, because there has been a lot of pain. But I've also thought too that if I've experienced the pain, it's like when you have a question, you have to assume that other people have the same questions. If I've experienced the pain, other people have experienced the pain. So what I saw from myself is looking at the laws and the statutes and the way things are done in the state of Texas, that some of our laws actually encourage and facilitate alienation. They may not say that that's their intent, but actually they do so. So from the political background you mentioned, we met each other first in a political campaign. I thought, okay, so how do we go about doing some of this stuff? And part of the way was to change laws. So I've been down to Austin, I don't know how many times since this happened in 2012. I've been down there numerous times. Just recently, I was in a featured partially in a documentary called We the Parents by Mike and Elizabeth McNeese, talking about some of the things that happen after divorce. And they didn't even get into the topic of alienation. They just wanted to address the issues that our state legislatures are actually causing and facilitating and creating and not addressing. And they're actually enabling abuse in many instances, whether it be from against a parent, or it can also be against grandparents too. They talk a lot about grandparents in this whole thing. So that's been my position, is that I need to go in there and as Elaine Simmonds said, to be vocal. Because when you go through this stuff, it is completely senseless. And the first thing you're going to say is, I don't even know what to make of the whole thing. But if there's somebody there who's been through it, I think that to some degree we have an obligation to help other people understand what's going on. And of course, every circumstance is different. But just to say, and people can say, well, I didn't do this right, I didn't do that right. Okay, you know what? So you're an imperfect person. You have imperfect children. You were raised by imperfect people, and you have a society that's imperfect. But that does not mean that familial bonds should be separated. So by being able to use our pain to try to change things so that future generations aren't impacted. What I've said is that we, the parents, and in our case, we, the grandparents, we are the last line of defense right now. We have to be out there, because if we do not address these issues, it's going to impact our children and our grandchildren even worse in the future. So I've really tried to channel my efforts to try to say, how do we make change? And that also entails what Elaine was talking about, sometimes opening up your heart to the sorrow that you had. For men, you're not supposed to express those things. You're never supposed to cry or shed a tear. But, it's your children, your grandchildren. How can you not cry or shed a tear? And how can you not go out and fight so that it doesn't happen to them as well?
That's right. Amen. That's great. Yeah. I know the alienators want us to be silent, and they want us to say nothing. That is not going to happen. We must stand firm. We must not be silent. Um, that is why I started Family Access. That's why we started Families Divided TV. Um, and we have a web page. We are not going to be silent. We need to show the abuse of alienation and what is being done, most importantly, to the children and the grandchildren. And I encourage all of you not to be silent. Get involved in your state. Many states are out there, like Jeff was talking about. He goes to Austin. Many states are out there trying to pass laws. Get involved. Don't sit back. That can help you heal. It can help you have a purpose. When the day comes you do see your grandchild or your child, you can say, I fought for you. Just like we're fighting for Dare. We're never going to give up, ever, not ever. And if if the alienated parents think so, that's their problem. But we're not going to give up on our son Brian. We love him. We love him with all our heart. We pray for him many times during the day, and that's what you have to do. But being silent is the last thing we need to be. Alienation is abuse, and we need to speak, and we need to be loud. Don't need to be quiet. So, okay, enough preaching. Sorry. Okay, we've talked about persevering through the pain of alienation. Anyone who has been through alienation knows how painful it can be. Some people have counseled others to walk away, let it go, or just be happy with what and who you have. Have you ever been tempted to just walk away and quit? What would you say to those who are in that position, walking away and giving up? And I really want you both, Jeff, we're going to start with you. I want you both I know you have both put yourself in this place. I know you both have been in this place, but we have many that we see through comments on Families Divided TV on our YouTube channel. They're giving up, they're walking away, they're quitting, they're very discouraged. I want you to really reach out to those people now, please. Jeff?
So that the idea of giving up and quitting, at the beginning you're thinking, no, there's no way. But as Elaine said, and the Elaine, when it goes on for a long, long time, you're like every day, like the father waiting for the prodigal son, just looking and waiting. Is he going to return today? Is this going to be the day? And maybe giving up hope. And there have been times, we've talked with other people, like, if our children are going to treat us this way, like you're not even their parents or anything like that, do we have an obligation to them? And I hate to use it like in this term, but I've heard people talking, do we talk about cutting them out of our wills? If they're not going to be, if they have disowned us, what do we do when it comes down to, if we pass on or something? At what point, what do we do? And Elaine, I had that temptation. Because it was so painful that you're going through this stuff. What I can say is that almost every time I've thought about that, God has broken through right at the end. And there's a lot of times we just have to hold on one more day, and we just keep on saying, can you wait one more day? I would say, no, don't give up. I also know too that there are times that you have to walk away just for your own sanity, just for your own perseverance, just to, because it is completely abnormal and crazy. I would say not to give up. But the other thing is, Elaine, is that there are people that encourage us to do that, as you know, people that tell us, you've got, just enjoy the ones that are with you. Or some people that have been through it, they said, you know what, my husband or my wife went through this, or maybe we went through this together, and you just have to enjoy the ones that are there, and just move on. As if these children and grandchildren are possessions to be thrown away, that to be discarded. They are your flesh and blood. And I talked about the heart of God and how God as the Father was an alienated father. And that's painful. Understand that God went through pain by being rejected by his own people. And we can go through that exact same pain. But I'll also say something else, because I think that church was mentioned earlier today. Or sometimes family don't understand, sometimes churches don't understand. Churches often almost become centers of abuse counseling, in a sense that they are re-victimizing the victim of alienation. The idea that somehow the parents are always at fault. And even when you can go to the church and tell them this is what's gone on, and they don't believe you. And so the people that should be there to help you don't believe you, and they side with the people who are the alienators instead of comforting the alienated. And that's an area that I think the churches really need to start re-examining and looking at. But for those who are in the position, and trust me, I think that many of us have been through that position, all I can say is keep going on. I had my son reach out to me, and I told you, I think I mentioned this before, but he was the one who reached out to me because I was angry. And anger is a justifiable attitude at times, a justifiable response. Maybe not justifiable, but it's a natural response. And, and I was part of my own problem there for a little bit of time as well. And then he reached out to me and he said, I've tried to address it this way. Maybe I've been wrong, but I want you in my life. And what a big deal, what a difference that made to me to feel like there's somebody within my own flesh and blood who was, maybe he doesn't understands the pain, but he also defended me at the same time. But the pain can be so painful that we can, um, respond to other people in ways that we shouldn't. And I'm grateful that he did that, that he reached out to me, and that, like I said, my one daughter now, we're reunited with her and the grandchildren. The other one I've seen recently, I wouldn't even have noticed, I wouldn't even have recognized her, honestly. It's been that long. But and the grandchildren I didn't know at all. But all I can say is just keep going on. You have to persevere. One more day. Can you wait one more day? And there have been times that we're at the end of our ropes, but for me, I can say God has been very gracious to me. There's still another daughter, as I said, outside of the full grandchildren that I don't know, but hold on, persevere.
Right, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, Elaine.
I believe that as loving parents, we always want the best for our children. We don't want them to have regrets, but I do believe that they will have them one day. When we're gone, it's going to be too late for them to make things right. Their own children are more likely to discard them and alienate from them, alienate from them from their own grandchildren, or our great grandchildren, because that is the example they have grown up with. They don't know any different. In their minds, discarding your parents was justified and normalized in their young minds for many years. And that may come back and really do some damage to our own children. So I think we hang in there. We try, we hope that they'll come to their senses. We pray for them. And, we do what we can to, to try to see if there's a way to break through that hard exterior, that cold heart that our children have. But you've got to be realistic about it. First of all, you've got to make your own decisions based on your own situation. I mean, some of these children are mentally ill, and there is some real problems going on. They can become violent. They Some parents have had their children call the police on them if they've tried to visit them, or if they try to send gifts to the grandchildren or whatever. They've had restraining orders taken out against them, for just coming to their home and knocking on the door. Um, and they say, when you try to see them, you're not respecting their boundaries. So I think it all depends a lot on what your personal situation is with your child. And you can't fix their problems for them, and they are creating a big problem for themselves. Do as I say and not as I do doesn't necessarily work, and it may not work for them. When their children get older, they say, well, you need to be close to us, but that's not what you've shown them. You haven't taught them that being close to both sets of grandparents is important. You've taught them that it's not. But at some point, we do have to accept that they are adults. They have a right to make their own decisions. And by continuing to pursue them, then, we may be setting ourselves up for a very unfortunate situation. I've read the books, I've done the apologies, given space, I've reached out, all to no avail. Absolutely nothing has worked. This is not under my control. I can't force another adult to be part of my life if they don't want to be. And his silence is an answer. It's not the kind of answer we hope for, but it sends a strong message. And we are in a no-win situation. If we don't reach out, they say we don't love them. on the other hand, when we do reach out, we're accused of not respecting their boundaries. I have contacted my son in silence. In the past year and a half, I've contacted him a couple of times, no reply. I'm tired of being rejected over and over again. He's never been nasty. He's never been mean. He just won't respond. And he won't let me see the grandchildren. And it makes no sense. But reaching out constantly or trying to, have a relationship with someone who doesn't want to have a relationship with me is not good for my emotional well-being. So I don't contact him on a regular basis, and I'm not sure I'll even bother to contact him again. I mean, I'm not going to say never because you never know, but I really don't plan to pursue him. I'm going to focus, kind of like Jeff says, on the people who love me and treat me with respect. But that's, our lost grandchildren can't be replaced. We have another grandchild, but she doesn't replace the ones that are missing. We love them in their own right, and we would love to see them. But that's beyond my control. And I think I would just tell other people to do what you need to do. If it's been years of silence and reaching out to them and they don't respond, then they made the choice. You didn't make the choice to walk away. They made the choice to walk away from you. So I think, unless there's a violent situation or, some real serious issues, most parents don't turn and walk away. But what we do is we choose to stop chasing them, and we just let them live their lives and suffer the consequences of their own decisions because we can't change anything.
That's right. Thanks, Elaine. Yeah, I'm going to close with just a few little remarks, and I didn't really say much between Jeff and Elaine because of that. But I want to thank you both for being with us today. It's been a great interview. I think it's been really, really a good one. We should never give up. We've been doing this for 13 years this time. The first time was 2.5 years. My son came back for a little over a year. We basically were told that he came back because his now ex-wife allowed him to come back to us because they were going to get married. And they didn't want their people at their work to know that they were alienated, and narcissists don't want people to find out about them. So my son sent a great card during that time. Actually, 2 of them I still have, and was so glad to be back and so happy. And he'd missed us so much. He's always sent things in regards to, like, when he on Facebook, he posted stuff like, I'm his biggest cheerleader, how much he loves me, I'm the best mom in the world. His stepfather, Chester, is real. He thinks he's the most real guy he's ever met, and he's a stand-up guy, loves him. And still no response, no reasoning as to why they're alienated. About 7 years ago, we went to the house, and we were going to give presents to our granddaughter, and we were met at the front door. My husband, thank God, had his phone taping in his pocket. We were going to record the first time we saw our grandchild. Instead, we were met at the door. My son opened the door, and he had a .45 rifle. He cocked it and held it right at me and was yelling and screaming obscenities for us to get off the porch. And we just kept telling him, we want to see our grandchild. We just want to see her. And he kept screaming and yelling. And finally, I realized, and then he slammed the door, and I heard their grandfather clock fall off the wall and crash. I did not realize until then the brainwashing that had occurred in my child. I knew it was bad, but at that point, I had no idea how sick it was and how sad it was. And it did not hit me until in the middle of the night, because my husband had stood at the porch and he said, "Come on, honey, he's going to kill us." And I looked at my son and I said, "He's not going to shoot his mother." For a second, he let the gun down, and then that look of demonic look on his face went away, but then it came right back, and he put the gun back up. So, at that point, he slammed the door, and again, we left. But again, it took me till the middle of the night to realize how bad off in brainwashing my son was. To be as close as we were as a mom and son, we were so close. He could tell me everything. His parents from school, the parents of his other friends would say, I can't believe this, that you've got such a great relationship with your child. I wish I had it with mine like that. And we were that close. And then to be that close and now to be nothing and not to know why. I'm sharing that with you as I've never shared it with you guys ever. I've never been that public about my situation, but I think it's important this time. I've prayed much about this, and I wanted to share. I'm saying all that because I want you to realize this person is not really your child. This is the shell of your child. This is not really who you raised. You didn't raise this person. Absolutely didn't. My son is absolutely not the person I raised. I know that. And it breaks my heart. He was extremely spoiled. I take full responsibility for all of that. And he was extremely spoiled. And Dr. Josh Coleman has said those are usually the ones that alienate. But I see the brainwashing, and I realize a lot of that is not because of Brian. Now, my son Brian is an adult. He's 40 years old. He's big enough to know what he's doing. And keeping his daughter, our granddaughter, Dare, from us is wrong. But do we hate him for that? No. There was times, and Elaine can testify to this, where, I've told her when in the beginning I would sit on the couch. Our guy Beagle was still with us then, and we would sit on the couch and I would just stare at the door, waiting for my son to come through that door. Now, my son lives 2 hours away, but that's how much I wanted him to come home, like the prodigal son. And I almost gave up. Elaine knows that. I almost gave up on my child. I can't give up on my child. And so I really encourage those of you who are at the point of just saying, screw it, I don't want to keep dealing with this. I'm sick of what they're doing to me and all that I'm going through. I know your pain. Truly, I know all of your pain. We all walk it in a different way, in a different walk, but we all walk it just the same. And I really pray and beg you to not give up on your child, on your grandchild, on yourself. Don't give up. You cannot give up. I encourage you, like Elaine was talking about the support groups. I've talked about support groups. Jeff talked about getting involved with other alienated people. That's important. Get involved in your legislator, like Jeff was saying. Those things like that will help you. Doing what I do with Family Access and Families Divided has really helped me to deal with with the pain that I go through. I know I get a lot more pain and feeling yours through the emails and the comments on Families Divided, but you still can't give up. I know they're hurting you. I know they're hurting you. I know how much. But don't give up. They're your flesh and blood, as Jeff was saying. They are your child. They are yours. God gave them to you. He gave them to you for a purpose. And as their mom and as their dad and as their grandparents, first and foremost, you need to pray for them above everybody else that prays for them. You should be praying for them all the time. And I pray that you are. And pray for yourself, but please pray for your children to be saved and be able to go to heaven, and your grandchildren to be able to go to heaven. That matters. So I I really hope and pray that this time with you today has been a help so much. I think it's really been God sent. I think what was said today was all God. And I thank you, Elaine and Jeff again. Um, but please understand, I do think the churches have let us down. I do believe that they're forgetting about their sheep, all the sheep. Um, they don't want to get involved. I get it. You don't want to get involved, but you're not ministering to your flock, and that's wrong. And that actually is a sin in the Word of God. So I understand that. I hope your churches will get more involved. We've got to try to not make it about us so much. I know we want to. I know that's the human thing to do. You can't make it about you. I know it hurts. I know it does. But again, you're the mama, you're the grandmama, you're the grandpa, you're the daddy. You know, you've got to understand, you got to make it about them. We don't know what these people deal with and what they go through every day without us. We don't know. We know what we're dealing with. But give yourself some space. I personally have had many days where I have to just get off this computer, walk away. I've told Elaine that before. I just have to take a break, and just take a break from your situation. Go find something else to do. Go find a movie. Go do something, go hang out. Whatever you need to do. Go read. Get your mind off of it, but take a break. Everybody needs a break. So that is something you can do in order to refresh yourself again so you can get up and fight some more. But the most important thing is to trust God and to be strong. And I never, you'll see me post that a lot on Families Divided. And that's the biggest thing, is to trust God and to be strong. And I'll also add, be loud. Don't be silent. Don't ever be silent. Our children and grandchildren are at stake here, and they need us. They need us desperately, and they should not be deprived. Their God-given right is to have their other family, and they're being deprived of that, and that's wrong. And God is not pleased, and He does not want this to be happening. This is not His will, totally not His will. So I'm going to go ahead and close. I've rattled on enough, but I just wanted to tell you guys how much we love you. And that's why we do Families Divided, and that's why we have Family Access. I know Jeff and Elaine have been with us other times, and I can't thank them enough. They've been very receptive, and so is the people too. You guys have been receptive to Elaine and Glen's videos, and I appreciate that. And I hope this one really helps you and means something to you. Contact me if you want to contact me. I really don't mind. And just know we love you and we're praying for you. But the main thing is, don't give up. Never, ever, ever, ever give up.
Next episode of Families Divided TV, founder of Grandparents Academy, Erin Larson, tells us how to ensure your grandkids know of your love for them, as alienated or estranged grandparents.